Hi guys, what I have in front of me is a MGS template that will guide you through how to do an artist analysis page in a sketchbook or to present within a body of work. Now the purpose of looking at an artist isn't to tick a box, it is to access some information that might help you develop your work. So if you do this properly, it should help you. Now we need to think about who we're looking at. In this example, we're looking at Edoardo Paolozzi, so we've got his name nice and clearly printed. Here, I've put some information, a bit of a bibliography about him, but it isn't cut and paste from the internet. That does not demonstrate good selection, so you need to do some research and read. If you are researching, you might look in some books, you might have some books to hand, you might actually draw upon some personal information. You might have been to a gallery and seen his work or have some of the artist's work at home. There might be lots of different ways to source information to go here. Using the internet is absolutely fine to add to that as well, but don't cut and paste. So what I've done is I've found two examples of Edoardo Paolozzi's work that are relevant to the thing I'm doing. In this section, I've made some notes about Paolozzi, who's a British artist, born of Italian parents. I've got his dates there. I'll talk about a little bit about the work he's made. And then I go on to say that in this project, I'm going to look at his collage and print work. That's very specific. It isn't all his work represented here, it's these specific things. And these are two very good examples. I found them on the internet. I've checked that I'm allowed to use these for reproduction in education reasons. And I then cut and paste them. I've used Google to do large image searches, so they're good quality in case I wanted to use them again later. Now the first thing I've done is I've listed some keywords. It's noted here. These keywords, I've looked at the pictures and I've come up with a list of things: found images, cross sections, toys, diagrams, repetition, machinery, etc. And I've not only popped them onto the page, I've actually put them in the imagery, embedded them in the imagery exactly where I think they're relevant. So if you were making a physical sheet sticking down, you could do that by cutting them out and sticking them on. You could equally write them at the side and diagram label. Other things that I've done, I've made some observations. So here I've said there's a contrast between very busy areas and calm negative space. So this area is calm at the top here. There's a line there, it's hard to see on the video. You'll see it when you see the worksheet. And a very busy area over here. So I've noticed that's a key thing. Notice the machinery term is beside the machinery, repetition is beside repetition. Down here I've made an additional note. The pop art style incorporates bright flat colours. Now those things will probably influence my choices later. I've added one last thing onto this, and this is really good practice, and at this stage in your project you might not know exactly what you're going to do. But it's a summary to say why and how this work has influenced me. Write what you think you're going to take forward into your future work, or what research you might need to do next. So in summary, I've said, I will photograph my toys against white backgrounds to isolate them. I've done that to make it a little bit easier in case I need to cut them out. Then experiment to arrange them in juxtaposed compositions, just like this, where things are all jumbled together. They're ordered rather than thrown together like in a toy box. I may incorporate electronic instead of Paolozzi's machine elements, as this is more relevant to me in the electronic age, because I think that these machines are a bit outdated for me and I'm used to using my smartphone and technology, and think I might put circuit boards in if I was going to develop something similar. And finally, I say I want to incorporate flat colour. It came from over here and it was an observation I've made during the task. So guys, I'm going on to give you an example of how to do this. So we've looked at Edoardo Paolozzi on the example sheet you will have on Teams. And now I'm going to look at the work of Vincent Van Gogh. Van Gogh is a fairly safe artist for us to look at. There's no skeletons about to fall out of his closet, so it's a good place for a young artist to have a look. I also have books about Vincent Van Gogh, and I've also got a dictionary of art and artists. This is a little bit like when you first go onto the internet and you Google something and you get some general information, a bit like Wikipedia or an ArtsNet, or if you went to a credible website like the Tate and read a synopsis. So at first, if you think back to the worksheet, you're obviously going to come up with a title, which is the artist's name. It can be his full name, Vincent Van Gogh, or it could be Van Gogh. In the body of text, you wouldn't refer to him in a familiar way as Vincent, you would refer to him as Van Gogh. So here I say Paolozzi, so I don't refer to him, like I say, as Eduardo. So the first thing we need to do is this brief biography. So I've done a little bit of reading, and it doesn't matter, to be honest, if you've been doing it in a book or you've done it online or elsewhere. But I've made a few notes as I've been doing it, my rough notes, and this is important because this is the stuff that I thought was particularly going to help me as I jot down a brief but relevant paragraph. So I often think that the date somebody was around is quite helpful because it sets a context. So if somebody was knocking around in 1500, you know that they've not been using an iPhone within their work. So he was born in the 1850s and he died in 1890. So he had a very short career, even though he's a really prolific artist and made masses of work. If you've ever been to an art gallery around the world and national collection, you're likely to have seen a Van Gogh along the way. So within this biography, I might say that he's a Dutch artist. His early work is quite dark. It's quite humble. He did a painting called The Potato Eaters, which was quite a dark image, physically dark in terms of its palette, with people round the table, peasants round the table, people that had worked in the field, and they were sat down eating their tea. But later, his paintings are quite bright coloured and a bit more lively, if anything, in terms of their palette. So what happened in that time is he went to live with his brother Theo in Paris, and you might know something about Van Gogh because he wrote loads of letters to his brother Theo. And the significant thing is he started hanging around with a load of other artists. They were the post-impressionists and they were very colourful, and his work became colourful. He also worked outdoors a lot and he did painting. If you're working outdoors, light levels change, so you work quite rapidly. So I think there were lots of factors there that I might mention that are relevant to what I think is key to his work. So his subject matter was observational and realistic, and here are some drawings of him. And look at the marks within the drawing, it's quite angular. And we see a similar thing within the paintings. So his brushwork is quite significant. And if we said an artist has handwriting within their paint and mark making, you can see in Van Gogh's it is quite angular. I like it because it's the directional line. I'm specifically interested in these paintings of sunflowers, these observational paintings, which are a bit like a still life, because I'm going to go on to look at those with my class as part of the colour project. And here's another still life. A lot of these interiors were places where he was living, as I've been doing my research. And then he's done lots of landscape painting. So those are some of the subject matters. I'm trying to find a specific one here. Very famous painting, Cornfield with Cypress Trees. And if you look at this particular painting, which is a bit later in his life, look at the energy now in the mark making, that very distinctive angular mark making we saw in that early portrait. They're more fluid now. Look at this sky. So I think this feels like a kind of blustery day outside. The way he's describing the sky makes me feel like there's movement to it. And in these trees, the marks are kind of fluid. The corn at different angles in the field. So on the worksheet, as you're going to make it, and you can do this physically sticking things down, or you can do it in PowerPoint or Word or Publisher. So you've got your surface, so you'll be able to use whichever package is most convenient for you. You can save it as a PDF, so it can then be uploaded quite easily if there were any problems with it. So you pick a couple of images, high resolution of course, if you can, and then you put your keywords onto it. Now the keywords, he didn't use found images or toys, did he? So we need to think very specifically. I might put directional lines, angular marks, clear brush strokes, bright colours. So I might refer to the subject matter, still life, landscape, portraits. So I'll put in words that are relevant, and then, again, I will put them onto the imagery because it makes it visually very, very clear and saves you writing big sentences about exactly how you did it. You might make some observations. I might talk a little bit more about the nature of the brush strokes. For example, in that sky where there was a lot of energy, and suggest that you can use marks to convey emotion. I might talk about the kind of colours, and you talked about colours here. I might talk about those sorts of things there. And in summary, this is the thing I think is most important ultimately, is what you would do with this information and this knowledge. So you might think, well, Miss, you've asked me to look at Van Gogh, so I don't know what I'm going to do with him. But what we'd really like is for you to start thinking and coming up with things yourself. So you might say, I could work outside, I could work in different light conditions, I might do some observational stuff based on still life I could set up at home, I could do modern interpretation, I might try and draw and put angular lines in like Van Gogh. So those are very, very obvious examples of things, but you could come up with some of your own.